Alright everybody, welcome back to another Xvault gaming video. Xvault here, and today what I want to do is clear up some misconception in regards to JRPGs, not the Western RPGs, but the JRPGs, and how a lot of folks out there simply supposedly feel that Sony has had a foothold in this category and a stronghold on it, and that nobody else could kind of make deals or get those games over on their platform. So what I want to do is clear that up. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. Alright, so like I was saying, what I want to go over is the fact that a lot of folks out there recently, especially on social media and other platforms, have been stating that Sony has just had a foothold, a stranglehold, so to speak, on the JRPG market in regards to having those games and exclusives and timed exclusives on their platform, to the point where no other platform holder could do anything about it. Well, simply put, that's not entirely true. Does Sony have a majority of the stake of that? Have they had great partnerships with those in like Square Enix and, you know, before that Squaresoft and then Enix and so on and so forth, as well as, you know, maybe like Level 5 and Atlas and stuff like that? Absolutely. But it's not because they demanded it. It's not like they had any sort of other power over this or any influence other than the fact that, hey, yes, we do pay for timed exclusives. Yes, we are paying for partnerships and collaborations and stuff because, well, that's what you do as a business. No one's going to donate to it. But the main portion of this as to why is essentially that. It's management. It is the art of making a deal. And to overdo that, to overlap that, so to speak, is the fact that money talks, right? When you're in a business, when you're in that ecosystem, you have to make a deal. That being said, we're more focused on, let's say, Square Enix right now, because that's where a lot of the action's at. You know, we get your Dragon Quest, you get your Personas, you get your special entries such as Ni no Kuni and so on and so forth, but more so with Square Enix. But again, Microsoft is the biggest complainer here, or at least in the Xbox camp of things. They are the biggest complainers right now, saying that, you know, it's not fair that Sony does this and have timed exclusives and this and that and the other. Well, there's a lot of factors that go into this, you know, and it's not just because, again, that I prefer PlayStation as a platform. I mean, hello, I do like the fact that I have the games in that ecosystem. That's why I'm there. If the shoe was on the other foot over in the Xbox side and they had all these JRPGs, at least from my standpoint, since I like a lot of those, as well as a lot of other Sony exclusives, and the foot was on the other shoe, or the shoe was on the other foot rather, I would be over there playing it because that's what matters is the games. Well, I get the frustration, but you have to understand that's part of it, right? It's part of the game, marketing, making those special partnerships. And, you know, I'm sorry, that's kind of what happens when you're late to the game. You had Nintendo, you had Atari before that, obviously, and you had Sega, the big three, or the big two more so, because obviously Atari was kind of a downfall for gaming after E.T. and so on and so forth, as well as other games, but we won't go over that. But it was mainly Nintendo and Sega until Sony did the whole rebuttal there, and they tried to have the partnership right with Nintendo. Nintendo backed out. Nintendo was supposed to go the route of having a CD add-on and stuff like that, but for whatever reason, which you can look further into, they decided to pull out. I know the reasons, but I'm not going to go into the details right now. Make this video an hour and a half long. You know, that partnership fell out. Voila, Sony decided to do their own thing, and they went with that market. Well, Nintendo's also other idea of working with, you know, Philips CDI and stuff like that, you know, to work in that capacity, have more storage, have more tech advancement there, that didn't work out all that great either. So they stuck with their N64, stuck with their cartridges, right? Well, a lot of developers, especially Squaresoft at the time, did not really care to work on cartridges. They felt that the future, yes, was indeed CDs and other advancements that could be had with that. So there goes that partnership, right? So the point I'm trying to make is since then, that's when the partnership started to bloom, especially and blossom for the JRPG market, for that system and that platform of Sony, with getting Final Fantasy VII amongst countless other RPGs that were on there, right? You weren't playing Diablo 1, which was a PC port over on, the Nintendo 64. You were playing that on the PlayStation 1. I mean, there was a lot of opportunity is my point there. And after this, way later, obviously, after Sega phased out, Xbox did enter the market a little bit before that and whatnot and what have you. But it just, it's too little too late. But they weren't totally out of the picture. They had the money, right? They had the money, but they're not making the right moves. As a matter of fact, they ended up trying to go there twice, not once, but twice, if you are unaware, over to Squaresoft's or Square Enix's headquarters and offered to straight up buy them out, in which case they were laughed out of the building, again, not once, but both times. Instead of trying to muscle your way through that, you should have been having lucrative talks, having partnership talks, having collaborative talks, working with that, because Squaresoft or Square Enix, especially at the time, was very willing to partner and work with people, work with platform holders. And yes, the marketing was a factor. Yes, the business part was a factor with the money and so on and so forth, which again, Microsoft had, but they wanted to jump the shark, so to speak. It just didn't work. They did have some partnerships. They had Blue Dragon. They had other partnerships with other folks such as Atlas and others as well, right? They had Eternal Sonata. They had Final Fantasy 13, 1 and 2. And it's fine to jump around with the other Final Fantasies, even if you're jumping in at that point. Nobody needs to play Final Fantasy 1 through 12, especially Final Fantasy 11, the MMO, in order to understand what's going on in Final Fantasy 13. They're all their own spin-offs, right? So it's just really absurd, essentially, that folks are out there in the Xbox camp. It's not fair. Sony has their foot on the throat. They did this, they did that. It shouldn't matter. Microsoft, when you have the money, all that matters after that point is making those partnerships, making those deals, making that market share happen, whether it be new IPs or a way to coerce Squaresoft or Square Enix in on that, as well as Atlas or anybody else they wanted to. They had Level 5. They have so many opportunities to have made something happen. They didn't just jump in the game just yesterday or 2 years ago. They've been around for 3 generations now, right? If not more. We have Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and of course, the 4th generation right now with the Xbox Series X and S. They've had time to make something happen, just like they had time to do things with Call of Duty and make the market share happen there and to make the special businesses and propositions happen there. They had the money to back it all up. Again, it comes down to mismanagement. Still, Nintendo, even though their hardware has never been all that impressive because they go in a not impressive, but they've gone in a different direction, right? So they have different opportunities, but they still had that partnership with Square and other JRPG platform holders and platform stakeholders and all this and that. They had opportunity, and they continue to got things like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. They had things on their Nintendo Game Boy Advance and stuff like that with Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. And, I can name off game after game after game after game, but the main point is, even with the falling out that they kind of had with Squaresoft at the time, way back when with the PS1 era, they still were able to make something happen. And that's all you got to do is make those partnerships happen. Now, Blue Dragon and Eternal Sonata and all the JRPGs didn't sell all particularly well on the Xbox platform because that was unfortunately marketed as a dude bro shooter type of platform with Halo and the Battlefields and Call of Duties and stuff like that. It was marketed towards that aspect in the arcade experience and fighters and stuff like that as well, right? So you have all this opportunity, you're going that direction, and they didn't think about the big picture that they're going to need to put their mark into the JRPG or the RPG elements. They did fine with the Western RPGs. They constantly get the third-party stuff from Bethesda. They had a great experience, and it was new to folks with Morrowind, right? And they continued to do so. And then, of course, they had, the third party from EA. You got your Mass Effects, you got your Dragon Ages and stuff like that you have opportunity for. But they definitely lacked that polish. They definitely lacked that partnership over with the Eastern market. And that is unfortunate for them. But clearing that up, that has nothing to do with Sony not allowing them to do that. You have the opportunity to do that. You have to be strategic. You have to be smart. They weren't doing that. They were having a lot of mismanagement issues, which was very apparent after the 360, especially during the 360 with the hardware failures and on and on and on. They had their hands full. They had their basket full, and they wanted to continue to be, successful in the market that they were successful in, and the franchises and the genres that they were in, which were mainly third and first person shooters and stuff like that. So it just sold very well. It did very well. But they just didn't grasp onto it. So now we're looking at today, and they're trying to implement some of those games in over on Game Pass. Well, now it's another beast. To sum this up, it's another beast. We have Game Pass as a factor now. And Game Pass is conditioning that Xbox ecosystem, the Xbox fanatics and the Xbox hardcore gamers over there, that they don't necessarily need to buy the game, wait for it to come on Game Pass. Well, now you have Persona, you have Ni no Kuni, and you have other JRPGs that are on the Game Pass ecosystem right now as well. Are those being played a lot? They're looking at those data. If you want to see those games over there, you have to play those games. If you love the game well enough and you think it's going to fall out of it, JRPGs take a long time to beat, typically, north of 50 hours easily, typically, right? You're going to have to probably, all right, I do feel this. I'm loving this Persona game. I'm loving Ni no Kuni. I'm loving Ni no Kuni 2, which will be popping out on there soon. You like all these JRPGs on there, you have to put your money where your mouth is. You're going to have to play them. If you like them well enough, you're going to have to buy them. Typically, you can buy those older titles right now at $19.99 or less, or definitely south of $60, $50, right? Maybe a max of $40 at this point, if that. So it's there. You just have to show the interest. If you are truly, truly interested in JRPGs, if you're truly interested in that genre, definitely support it. Try it out on Game Pass. Support it. That's all you have to do. Sony is not prohibiting that. Yes, they made deals with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yes, they made deals with this, that, and the other that is timed exclusive or is exclusive. And you got Final Fantasy 16 and so on and so forth, which you've been seeing in this video. There's nothing else I can say about it. You have to understand that you have to support this. And you also have to understand, for those Game Pass fanatics, it's great to rent it. It's great for the consumer. There are great deals. But you have to buy the games. You have to buy the games. Regardless of the conditioning and the message behind Game Pass, you have to buy the games. I promise there's going to be a big downfall in the gaming industry. Things are going to have to change. The quality is going to change. And for the worse, if you guys don't start buying the games instead of renting them as your primary thing. And I understand it is cheaper, and I understand you can't always buy the games, but I'll tell you what. If you can wait, if you're playing with Game Pass or you're playing with any sub-service, if you can, and the money comes through and you're waiting for the fact that, hey, here we go. Another 6 months later, the game does drop down to $30. At least that's $30 towards that, the dev company and the sales and this data and this and that and the other. It does help. It's better than nothing. But you do need to buy the games. I cannot stress that enough. End of rant. Just wanted to share all of that with everybody, but definitely want to take just a second. If you stuck around for the entirety of the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We've had such an uptick of subscribers lately, and I thoroughly appreciate that. So thank you for listening to what I have to say. Thank you for sharing your time with me and everything like that. It helps me out so much, so thanks again. But I would love to hear from you down below and your thoughts and opinions on this video and everything I had to say down in the comments, of course, if you would be so liking to do. If you could also like the video, as well as subscribe if you do consider doing so, helping out a small content creator like myself. We are so close to 500 subs, which is the next goal, so thank you so much. If you'd be so inclined, that would just be over the moon for that. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you next time on the next Xvault Gaming video. And until then, take care.